Now, earlier I spoke to Gulnur Aybet, the Director of Security Studies at Bahçeşehir University, and also to Necati Anaz, a professor of international security at the Turkish National Police Academy in Ankara. Now, they gave us their analysis on the Ankara attack.
So there's a two-front war, and this is a unique position that no other NATO country is in at the moment. Only NATO is facing a two-front war in this sense on terror. And also, I suppose he was referring to a better understanding and more empathy with Turkey's insistence that the Syrian YPG and the PKK within Turkey are one and the same thing. Now, as we know that some of Turkey's allies have not been taking the same stance. So this, I think, in terms of that, he wants extra international cooperation. But also, I think he's also referring to the fact that because terror groups are linked to and tap into quite easily international networks that supply them. He's also referring to greater international cooperation to somehow circumvent the flow of these networks to terrorist organizations.
Okay, let's cross over to Ankara. Necati, do you think Turkey will get the support it wants from the international community in this respect?
International community has to support Turkey because this Syrian crisis and the Turkey's struggle against PKK and PYD is not only the matter of Turkey. It is an international crisis, and it's an international business, and international community has to involve in this. They cannot stay away from this problem. They cannot leave Turkey alone fighting against PKK, PYD, ISIL. They have to support Turkey. This is not something that is negotiable. Otherwise, we would be talking about European security. We would be talking about international terrorism that cannot be controlled within where now, if they put forth their effort, can be controlled in Syria and some small part of this region.
But Necati, if you, in a sense, suspect that the PKK may have something to do with this attack, and Kurtulmuş is reaching out to the international community to support them in their fight against what they generally define as terror, but actually mean the PKK and its affiliates in Syria, the YPG in particular, how will common ground be found? Because, as we said, the United States does not see the YPG as a terrorist organization. It sees the YPG as an ally in the fight against another terrorist organization. So you can say Turkey deserves this help from the international community, but if they can't find consensus on who the enemy is, where do you go?
We know that this is not just only Turkey's problem, and we know that this is not just a simple counterterrorism effort. And there is more going on in the region. It's a geopolitical problem. There are interests of different countries, and there are also different countries games and interests in that region. So it's not the only PYD is a matter of calling it a terrorist organization or not. I think the problem is bigger than just calling PYD is a terrorist organization. But the United States have to come and understand Turkey's concerns. Again, if they think that they should, when they leave Turkey alone with this PKK and the PYD problem, they will be safe and they will be immune to this problem, but they are deadly wrong, I think. They will have to understand and also come to a table and talk and also hear Turkey's concerns about this issue.
Okay, Gulnur, let me ask you, Turkey is obviously asking for what would equate to military support in respect to fighting terrorist groups. But is there any chance that there could be perhaps more dialogue involved Because it has worked in the past with the PKK. But is that perhaps not the direction at all Turkey is looking at, especially seeing how serious this conflict has gotten and how Syrian forces have been drawn in?
Well, I mean, the question there is, who do you talk to? I mean, you know, obviously it's this government that actually started the peace process, but then the PKK broke the ceasefire. And when we look at what the PKK have been trying to do, along with their affiliates in Syria, is using the situation and the war in Syria as an opportunity to get some, you know, do something militarily and, you know, try to aim for some kind of secession. They wanted to, I mean, when you look at the tactics that the YPG have been following just across the border, grabbing more land and self-declaring these cantons, and then what the PKK is doing with this new onslaught of urban warfare and cutting off the access to security forces, you can see what their end game is. They are not interested in peace. I mean, I'm sure that if the Syrian war ended tomorrow, the PKK would immediately stop their hostilities. For them, this is an opportunity. So when you're actually dealing with terrorist groups who have a deliberate strategy of this kind, who do you talk to? And I think this is a real question that we have to ask ourselves. And we have to ask the allies of NATO and also the international community. How far are they going to stand with Turkey in this very dire fight against terror?